What's good, everybody, and welcome to First Look, the series where we see how some of the draft's top prospects have fared early on in their seasons. We've got a special one today with a look at the GLeague Ignite prospects. We'll cover the likes of Jaden Hardy, MarJon Beauchamp, Dyson Daniels, and Michael Foster, and briefly talk about Henderson and Fanbo Zeng as well. While we'll go through a lot of what we've seen, everything isn't completely concrete as there's still a lot of season left. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. These videos take a very long time to make, but this one especially if you can help your boy out. But starting with Jaden Hardy. Now 6'4", 200, Hardy was a highly touted high school prospect known mostly for his prolific shooting and scoring ability. It hasn't been the best transition for him going from high school to the G League, and there's been a lot of valleys but a few peaks that still keep me intrigued. Despite what has been an inefficient start, Hardy still has immense potential as a shot creator. We'll get into some of the things he still needs to work on, but when you look at his dribble pull-up, the footwork, the space that he can create, and the effortless nature in the shots that he puts up, it's going to leave you interested at the very least, and impressed when he gets it going like he did against Mexico City, against College Park.
Step back, gets it back, inside the arc.
He's got the swag, the hair, the star tattoos
on this Ignite team. Wearing number 55 now in the game, Hardy the step back.
And his ability to shoot the three both off the catch and the dribble with projectable upside off of movement is a big part of his appeal as well. He has a quick release and super smooth mechanics.
Still looking for that big break.
Game clock or even. Hardy for the lead.
Yes! Successful at the NBA level. Amir Coffey just knocked out another three.
One of the most impressive players that the G League Winter Showcase finds. As soon as Hardy comes off the screen, he's always got a hand in his face.
Now things definitely haven't been perfect here, but I think some of the flashes that he's had as a passer have the chance to potentially help separate him in the future. Coming into the year, I was very curious to see if some of those moments he had in high school would persist. They have, and he's been improving over the course of this year.
But simpler ilk, you know.
Jaden Hardy, dish off.
Porter Jr. said, that's where I learned that's what it takes to become a professional of that kind.
Now to some things I'm watching going forward. Hardy still has a ways to go in terms of shot selection and overall decision making. He still had a few too many head scratchers, some coming in the worst moments at the end of games, and he's got to start to minimize the mistakes and tunnel vision that he can get bad cases of. But I would like to see him score more consistently through the flow of the offense and limit the 35-footers, 12 seconds of dribbling, and early possession killers as much as possible. And of course, there's always room to improve the turnover numbers. Another one of the important areas for Hardy to improve is as a finisher. I think he's actually made some real significant progress in getting all the way to the bucket over the course of the season, and has actually been more effective even through contact in the most recent games, but his lack of big time explosion and regular effectiveness around the rim have stood out. That explosiveness really may be the separator in projection between a guy like Hardy and those like Jalen Green and Anthony Edwards, who have had similar issues in their early years, but can always fall back on that alien athleticism.
The contact. That's
like getting into it overseas, you know, typical.
Hardy working downhill.
Oh my goodness.
Up and up.
From Ignite.
Prospect that like Hardy.
I know a lot of times defense is misrepresented as just effort when there's a lot more going on out there, but for Hardy, an effort uptick could be very good for him. He's had some excellent moments, especially on the ball, and I was honestly expecting the worst in this area just based on how he's been in the past, but honestly after going through all of these games, it could definitely be a lot worse. He's got to focus on his screen navigation, the off-ball awareness, and rotations first and foremost. Those are the areas he's gotten caught up most frequently in my opinion. Jaden Hardy's draft stock might end up being the most polarizing in the class for a lot of the reasons we've talked about. The main point is if he's not scoring at a high rate, the value of him as a player shrinks, and if teams don't buy the skill set coming to fruition in a big way, he honestly might end up all the way in the late teens to early 20s. On the flip side, he still had games where you can tell why people like myself thought he was a top 3 prospect entering the year, and before one of his worst games that I think I've ever seen from him against Long Island, he had been moving in the right direction, but that ceiling looks a lot more like late lottery now at the very best. I'm still a believer in his talent, but he's got to start being more consistent and round his game out. Now to MarJon Beauchamp. A wing at 6'6", 200, Beauchamp came into the Ignite program on a super unconventional path. He was an ESPN top 50 prospect, but in looking to become a pro, he elected to train for the 2021 draft with Chameleon BX, Things didn't 100% work out there, and he headed home to Yakima Valley College, where he put up 30, 10, and 5 averages in 12 games, and then decided to sign with the Ignite last fall. There were a lot of unknowns about how he performed on this level, but he's far exceeded my expectations, and he might be their most consistent prospect so far. And one of the things that stuck out most is his ability to defend. He's of course played high level ball for a while, but directly going from guarding people in JUCO to Lance Stevenson, Jonathan Kuminga, Elijah Hughes, and many other pros is not the easiest thing to do, and he's done a pretty good job.
More active young man. Right now he is active. Creating the turnover. Now they got numbers. Up on the housetop and down.
A lot of you guys should be college freshmen.
So true.
Shot block from behind. Largest lead for Ignite has been 7. Skyhawks' largest lead has been 9. This has been a fun one to call.
Offensively, it hasn't been anything spectacular, but he's still giving you 15 a game, shooting nearly 60% from the field. He'll occasionally do damage off of dribble handoffs and ripping and going to attack the rim. He moves pretty quickly within the flow of the offense, and you've seen him be used as a screener, reversing the ball and making plays at the top of the key. He's got very good feel as a cutter, has a knack for the offensive blast, often converting on those nearly 2-0 boards a game, and he loves to get out and run in transition where he shows off his athleticism. Overall with him as a player, I'm just impressed by his feel for the game and ability to make you feel his presence without having to score 35 or needing plays run for him. And while I wouldn't necessarily describe it as a huge part of his game, he's also made some impressive passes.
Up with the Ignite. Touch pass to Foster Jr. Off the glass, it rolls.
Beauchamp down the shot clock. Beauchamp with the drive, the dish, beautiful pass.
What a Beauchamp. He's had a good one.
Now going forward, the biggest swing skill for MarJon is his 3-point shooting. He's currently at just 24% on under 3 attempts, a total of 8 for 33 on the year, which is obviously not good. The mechanics can vary a bit, and he'll absolutely turn down the open 3 opportunity for a different shot, which right now is smart for his team, but when it comes to his confidence and attributes as a player, I'm a little indifferent. It's not the NBA line or going up against professional defense, but he shot nearly 40% on 8 attempts during his stint at Yakima Valley, but it's still up in the air.
Beauchamp.
Now Beauchamp knocks down.
I think there's some to be shown from him as a creator. I'm not saying he's going to or needs to be Paul George, but just gauging how comfortable he is and becomes shooting the occasional pull-up, maybe coming off of a curl, and finishing plays off with a bucket or pass when he gets into the paint are what I'm looking at first. And I've seen him do some really impressive things off the bounce at different levels. Of course, this is a whole new game and it might be more long-term, but it's something I'm watching. Other than those 2 things and maybe just a bit more attention to detail and discipline on defense, I like and know what I'm getting with MarJon. Though he is a little older and might not have the tantalizing upside of some others, he should have teams interested in what he can bring in the teens and into the 20s. 18-year-old Dyson Daniels has made major waves in Australia over the last several years. At 6'6", Daniels has great size for a guard, and there is still a case to be made for him being the team's best 2022 prospect. He's another guy on this squad that can really affect the game without being the top scorer, and he's continuing to get better as the season has progressed. The first thing I noticed with Dyson Daniels is his ability to defend. In the G League, you're going to face a wide variety of guard talents, a lot of which can really fill it up and wreak havoc, and Daniels has absolutely held his own. He might not have terrific lateral quickness that allows him to just consistently beat people to spots, but he recovers well, he's smart, and really competes on ball on the perimeter. He's probably the best screen navigator on this team and has consistently taken the challenge of guarding the opponent's most proficient. He comes away with a good amount of steals, and there's a lot of appeal in what he brings to the table on this side of the ball.
Period, steal. This will be easy.
Dyson Daniels. 20-3 run. Oh, that time Austin loses it. Here goes Daniels. Dyson Daniels.
Free throw, yes. At the end of the day, you know, that's something the difference between you having 20 plus.
Rebound, Tillman underneath. Gets it back to Jalen Johnson.
Stars, the 3-on-2. Edwards, he got rid of it too late.
While he may not yet have the skills to be a primary ball handler in the league, and currently plays a role more similar to the one he probably will have for the earlier parts of his career at least, I think his passing ability might be underrated and definitely among the very best in his class. Now we don't have the Giddy, Cade, Sharif type of players this year, but that doesn't diminish what Daniels can do. He's consistently displayed the ability to make pinpoint passes in the pick and roll, find guys in transition where his eyes are always up, and he's super unselfish to a fault at times.
Daniels just 18 years old. Deep shot.
Young, very similar to what Josh Primo is coming into the NBA.
Foster a block on shot clock and game clock. Daniels with the blow-by kickoff. Beauchamp from downtown.
Daniels' biggest question marks so far are his three-point shooting, which is at about 25% and not a big part of his current makeup, the creation, putting pressure on the defense, and then the general assertiveness, staying aggressive and looking to take what the defense is giving him at all times. The shooting is going to be key for him when you're trying to add value while playing off the ball, but the mechanics aren't super flawed or anything. And as for creation, it's not only going to help him as a scorer, but as a playmaker as well. When you can pass it the way he can, it'll only open things up when he can draw more attention, and he's shown a few flashes putting some moves together and getting all the way downhill.
Into it, hit the backboard, then he hit the ball. That's goaltending. Give him 2.
And Daniels
Morning, filling in his stead. There's also a change.
Dyson Daniels is somebody who I think will end up a top 20 pick unless something drastic changes. I think when you look around the league, a lot of good teams have a player who does what Dyson does right now, and he also has the upside to warrant possible lottery consideration, still being only 18 years old. Now this is not a one-to-one comparison, but the success of the Bulls guards between Lonzo Caruso and Io, or a D'Anthony Melton, younger versions of DeJounte and Derek White, or even a Josh Hart all kind of feel different versions of what I think Dyson can potentially do. It's close and they all have very different skill sets, but I think he might be my #1 Ignite guy right now. The last guy we'll talk about in depth is Ignite's biggest prospect, Michael Foster. Foster is about 6'8", 6'9", 4'5" man who has demonstrated a knack for scoring the ball both inside and out. He was a top 10 recruit coming out of high school last year, joined the Ignite instead of some big time SEC schools or other professional options. He's a physical presence on the inside with a pretty soft touch and a sneaky ability to bang it on you. He does a very good job of sealing off opponents and making a quick move into a hook to get a bucket, or showing off a pretty turnaround jumper. He's also got some agility to him and more touch, hitting those flip or push shots and getting to the bucket in the pick and roll.
Now they post up Foster on the mound.
Rob Edwards quickly inside and Foster.
Foster, power dribble. Foster backing down.
Degree of difficulty of the shots that Jordan Crawford can make, NBA shots he calls them.
It's hard not to come away pretty impressed by how he's held his own as a scorer against some of these names that have spent significant time in the NBA or in other high-level leagues. The face-up and mid-range game is equally impressive as well. He'll give you the jab series, and the Rashard Lewis release point on his jumper has always stood out to me. The finesse, footwork, and confidence on some of these fades really jumps off the screen, as you're not going to find a ton of 18-year-old big men who can go to this at the pro level. He has stretched his game out to the three-point line at different points of the season, but overall it's just 5 for 16 on the year. Bringing it all the way out there is something I think he can and should do to add a ton of value to his game.
Foster thought about it. Why not let it fly?
Now, I didn't have the chance to watch more than a few games of Mike Foster at Hillcrest or with Kevon Looney prior to the Ignite, but I've been very pleased with what he's shown as a passer. He does a pretty good job of executing the dribble handoffs, hitting back cuts, and he's had a few even off the dribble and in transition. I don't think he's a guy you necessarily run your offense through, but someone who can bridge the gap and make plays for others is always a plus.
Players have played. I can speak of 4 specifically for the Ignite.
He'll push it himself. Finds Beauchamp in transition. Good job running by the...
Now going forward, I'm paying close attention to Foster's defensive play because I think it has a lot of weight in how high I rank him and where he ends up going in the draft. He has shown the ability to block shots on the interior, averaging about 2 a game, and he's held his own down low better than I anticipated, big credit to him. But though he is mobile, his perimeter defense needs some work. Whether he switched on a guard or wing, or is just in your standard pick and roll, even just in drop, he's got to provide more resistance. He doesn't have the quickest feet or hips, but I really think he's mobile enough to be passable. It's just got to be a lot better than it has been for me.
No shot attempt. Now we got to drive
places, but then compose yourself to make the decisions.
Edwards splitting through two defenders. Carson Edwards.
Cooper, goaltending.
It's always difficult to gauge the stock of the bigs for a number of reasons, but I see Foster as a guy who could land anywhere as high as the last couple spots in the first round into the 40s. He's a much different player than the Kamagate, Williams, Koloko, Diabate type of bigs. He's got a lot more to offer in terms of overall offensive skill set, but the others definitely clear him defensively, so we'll see. And just a few more things before we get out of here. We won't go in depth in this video, but I think it's abundantly clear Scoot Henderson is one of the very best prospects for the 2023 class. And if he was in this one, I'm probably taking him first. That's the type of talent that he is. A 6'3" dynamic athletic point guard who's doing his thing against multi-year pros at just 17. He'll be the talk of the draft next year and still remains the best watch on this team to me. And before I forget, we also need to mention Fanbo Zeng. I think he might benefit from being in the 2023 class. He's shown a lot of things that I like long term, and his movement is super intriguing as a 6'11" wing or forward, but he's currently outside my top 60, though things might change, especially with some added help. I just want to see a little more of it come together consistently. It was a bit ambitious to throw all the Ignite prospects into this one video, but I think it turned out alright. Definitely be sure to check out a few of their games at some point this season to see it for yourself and make your own opinions. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and comment down below some of your thoughts on this year's Ignite prospects. I'm Keandre, this is Intellect, and I'm out.
Life ain't sweet, Saturday through Monday, but in the summertime, you my watermelon Sunday. Gotta beat the heat, even though I wanna play, but you keep me cool, you my watermelon Sunday.